Good evening to you, Martin. It's evening where you are, unfortunately, and it's afternoon where I am in the States. This is Martin and Jordan, Martin Lonergan and Jordan Schneider from Detained International with an update on Zack Shahin, our client who is still in the Al-Awir jail in Dubai, 14 years, but we have breaking news about Zack. Martin, go ahead and tell everyone the breaking news about Zack and his hunger strike.
Well, I've finally been able to convince him to suspend the hunger strike. He's not stopping it, but he's agreed to suspend it. We've been able to get some concessions from the jail. They're going to give him the same food that they give Charles and that they were for a short period giving me when I was in there. They assured us that they'll do that. I managed to get them to assure me they wouldn't move him away from Charles. They were going to take him and put him in another area, and he was concerned about being on his own and not being able to have people keeping an eye on him. And they've assured me that the medications that he's meant to have will be provided, and we've agreed that it's anything that the prison doctor, who's actually a pretty decent fella, Dr. Osman, will give him. And he said he'll suspend it, but it really is only a suspension because Zack has come to the end of his tether with things. But he's agreed to the suspension on the condition that I don't forget him and that I do take up the cause and that I do deliver this sanctions application. And obviously you continue to work for him and that we don't forget him because he feels like the forgotten American. And I have promised him that I'll get to his family in Texas, but as you know, I'm having difficulty.
Right. So let's move on to that. We want to keep it short and sweet because it's Sunday dinner, and you're staying with your parents and you're about to have Sunday dinner in the UK. And we are going to explain what the sanctions application is in the next podcast. But what we want our listeners and viewers to know is that Martin left or prepared to leave or arrived at Heathrow. He went to Heathrow on Thursday, June 24th, did all the paperwork, took his COVID shot, took his COVID test, did everything that one could possibly ask for and did ask for. And then Martin explained what happened and where we are now.
Yeah, I did everything that was required. Did the COVID testing, as you say. Did all the declarations to the US. I've been self-isolating, and I arrived at Heathrow to be told that my reasons weren't good enough and that I needed more documentation. Now, as I say, I'm Chief Operations Officer of an NGO, Detained International, and I have a connection with Zack. I have probably the only person who has a direct line into the jail and access to him. The only person who's been able to negotiate these concessions, and it's only upon his hope in my commitment that he's actually agreed to suspend the hunger strike. And I assured him that I would get to his family and that I would continue to work for him. But as I say, the Homeland Security, whatever their protocol is, I'm still a little bit short of it. I have to convince them that it's in the interests of a US citizen. And that's the reason to travel.
So they asked because I did write a letter on your behalf as the director of operations in the United States, and they want proof that it's humanitarian. I don't understand how helping someone be free from an illegal detention where his 4th and 5th Amendment rights have been violated, where he's suffered grave human rights abuses, is not humanitarian. We're 6 hours apart. So you're about to have dinner and it's still noon here for me. And it's really difficult for us to operate. The family wants to see both of us in Houston. Zack's wife is beyond emotionally distraught. Her brother just died of COVID in Caracas, so that's added to it. And the only way that we can proceed effectively and efficiently is being together in the same time zone in the same state. We'll start in Houston and we'll end up in DC, talking to congressional representatives and congressional leaders on both sides of the House and possibly on both sides of the aisle. But to have you in the UK is completely, at this point, ineffectual, and it's creating a lot of distress in Zack, because it's hard to explain to him over a phone that's being monitored what's going on. So where we are now is you have sent more paperwork to the State Department. I have written a letter to the State Department. They've asked for letters from members of Congress, which we're hopefully in the process. Those have been requested. The priest that sent a letter to the Pope asking for his intercession, he's being contacted. So we're sort of in a, would you say, Martin, a holding pattern? Just kind of waiting.
We're in a holding pattern. I just need to convince people in the, I assume it's your US immigration in the London embassy, that my traveling to the US is genuinely in the interests of an American citizen. But it's not just in the interest. This man's given up hope. He's been forgotten for 14 years, illegally detained, inhumanely treated and tortured, suffered all sorts of injustices, kidnapping from the Yemen. I mean, the American State Department has lost him once already. When they had him in their custody, they've had him kidnapped from them. And as I say, I've assured Zack I'll do everything I can, and I am doing everything I can. But I just need to somehow assure your State Department that not just the interests of Zack, but Zack's life depends upon me getting to the US.
It does. Zack's life does depend upon it, because at any day, being under the mental stress that he's under, he could decide to reinstitute the hunger strike. And a man with diabetes and hypertension and cardiovascular issues, among other ailments, that is not a healthy prescription for surviving. When you have all that, you need nutrition and you need to take your medication.
Yeah.
Well, Martin, sorry, go ahead.
He was 21 days into the hunger strike, and he was becoming very, very weak and quite delirious. And it was only Charles, my friend that's in there with him. Charles has been in there 14 years as well. He's caught up in the same issues. Charles is quite a strong character in his 60s, and it's Charles is keeping Zack going, but Charles is obviously reassuring Zack that I'm still fighting for them and I'm not going to give up. But as I say, it's difficult to keep them all positive when, you know, I've fallen at such a small hurdle. You know, as I say, I'm no COVID risk to anybody. I've had the illness myself a year ago. I'm vaccinated. I self-isolate. I've been tested negative. There's no reason that I'm an environmental or a health risk. It's inconceivable that you could say that I am, and I'm being held up from traveling to the US because they don't seem to think it's in the interest of a US citizen. Well, Zack's interests have been neglected for 14 years. This isn't in the interest of the US citizen. This is in saving the life of a US citizen who doesn't believe his country cares about him. And Charles McClellan, who's the attaché or the official that works in the consulate, he's well aware of the situation, and he's well aware that Zack doesn't take them seriously and doesn't feel that he's getting no one's taking him seriously. And as I say, it's only my assurances that are keeping the guy going.
Yeah, I think you've said it perfectly and eloquently. It is a matter of Zack's life, and just for people who might be wondering, who haven't watched before, Zack Shahin is a Houstonian and a father of two. He worked for DR, a very big company in Dubai. 14 years ago, he went in to discuss an audit, and the next thing he knew, there was a bag over his head, and he was in handcuffs, held 17 days incommunicado. He was subsequently kept in jail for 4 years. 4 years. That was in 2012, where he came upon the 4-year mark. So from 2008 to 2012, he then went on a hunger strike. And the State Department, because of media attention, it is media that saves people's lives. So if you're watching in the media, it's our freedom, our First Amendment rights that actually gets things done. And so he went to Yemen to try and escape because something happened to him after he was released. And that's another story. Martin, we're going to let you go have dinner. Your mom's making you dinner. And so we don't want to keep you from Sunday dinner. But for folks who are tuning in and getting interested, we're going to talk about the Yemen story because that's incredibly interesting. And we're also going to talk about what a Magnitsky application is. So please stay tuned. You can actually go to www.detained.org.uk. And if you go under causes and click on Zack Shahin, there's a list of what you can do to help Zack. And that could be as simple as calling your member of Congress. You can Google that. Call or writing a letter to your editor, somehow getting the word out, telling your friends, get people to watch this, spread the word that there's an American in Dubai, in a city that looks like it's 21st century, but really there's a 7th century type mentality going on behind all the glass and the mirrors and the technology. And we should also, one other thing, we should mention that this past week, my email for Detained was hacked into. And so for a whole week, I've been running back and forth between Geeks and Martin and our tech guys at Detained. And we have not been able to cure it. And it's a virus that no one's ever seen before. So it wasn't like a 12-year-old. We think it was probably something that was swimming around and watching, and then decided that my Microsoft account was the best. And so we're still working on that. So we'll keep everyone updated. I know Zack's family watches this, so know that we are working hard. This coming week is going to be difficult because it's coming on 4th of July. So a lot of people leave for vacation. But Martin and I and the rest of the Detained team, we are working hard to get Zack free and to assist his government, the American government, in facilitating that freedom. So Martin, thank you so much. And everyone subscribe. That's something you always say. I never thought I'd be saying that, but click the like and the subscribe button. And Martin, well, you and I talk every day. And so we'll see you again soon on our